so it must be stronger than DC. Stop. This is the dumbest argument in versus battles. Brutality is not power. Blood is not scale. And watching someone's guts spill out doesn't make them stronger than a god. Superman doesn't fight on planetary level. He operates on stellar, dimensional, and multiversal scale as his baseline. While Omni-Man struggles to destroy a planet with 2 other Viltrumites, Superman sundips once and becomes a walking extinction event. Speed? Superman moves so fast, the fight ends before Viltrumites even perceive it started. Strength? He's bench-pressed Earth's weight for 5 days straight, without breaking a sweat. Durability? He's tanked universe-ending attacks and walked away bored. Invincible is a masterpiece. But masterpiece doesn't mean strongest. This was never a fight. This was always a conclusion waiting to be spoken. The Invincible universe is more brutal, so it must be stronger. This is the argument that refuses to die. And today, it dies permanently. Brutality is not power. Gore is not scale. And watching someone's intestines spill across concrete doesn't make them stronger than a being who arm-wrestled Spectre, a living aspect of God's vengeance, and held his ground. The moment Superman enters the Invincible universe, reality itself flinches. Not metaphorically, literally. The sky shifts color for half a second. Atmospheric pressure stabilizes across 3 continents simultaneously. Earthquake patterns that have rumbled for decades suddenly stop. Scientists will later confirm. The planet's rotation corrected itself by 0.003 degrees the instant he arrived. Something has entered that doesn't belong on this power scale, and the universe knows it. Viltrumite scouts detect him within minutes. 7 warriors, each capable of solo planetary conquest. They've toppled civilizations before breakfast. They've ended species for sport. Confidence radiates from them like heat, the kind that comes from never meeting anything stronger. They intercept Superman above the Pacific Ocean, moving at Mach 500. The engagement lasts 1.7 seconds. Here's what happens in those 1.7 seconds. The lead scout throws a punch carrying enough force to split a moon. Superman catches it with his left hand. The kinetic energy, enough to trigger extinction-level tsunamis, disperses harmlessly. Not absorbed, not redirected, deleted from existence. Interesting, Superman says. That's it. One word. The second scout flanks from behind at hypersonic speed, aiming for the spine. A killing blow that's ended hundreds of targets. Superman doesn't turn around. He simply isn't there anymore. The scout's fist passes through empty air. Before confusion registers, Superman has already relocated behind him, one hand resting gently on his shoulder. Don't, Superman says. The shoulder shatters. Not from force, from precision. Superman applied pressure to exactly 3 stress points simultaneously, overloading the Viltrumite healing factor before it could engage. The scout drops, alive but unable to lift his arm for 6 months. 1.3 seconds remain. The remaining 5 attack together, coordinated, brutal, perfect. 5 planetary-level strikes, converging on a single point. This combination has destroyed armadas. Superman doesn't block. He moves through them. By the time their fists reach where he was standing, he's already behind the group. Each scout feels a single tap: neck, spine, solar plexus, temple, knee. Pressure points designed to incapacitate without killing. They drop from the sky like stones, unconscious before they hit the water. 1.7 seconds. 7 planetary conquerors. 0 deaths. And Superman isn't breathing hard. He isn't breathing at all, because he doesn't need to. News spreads faster than sound. The Viltrumite Empire, for the first time in recorded history, issues a formal threat assessment. Not against a planet, not against a species, against one being. Classification: unknown. Approach: extreme caution. Caution from Viltrumites, the species that conquered galaxies through arrogance alone. On Earth, heroes scramble for information. Cecil Stedman burns through 17 intelligence networks trying to identify the newcomer. Every database returns the same result: no match found. This being exists in no records, follows no known physics, and fights like nothing they've ever seen. He's not using maximum force, Cecil mutters, reviewing footage frame by frame. He's not even using moderate force. Those takedowns were surgical. Minimal energy expenditure, maximum efficiency. His assistant frowns. So he's holding back. Cecil doesn't answer immediately. He rewinds the footage again, studies the moment Superman caught that first punch. No, he finally says. Holding back implies effort. This man isn't trying less. He's not trying at all. That's the problem. Meanwhile, Superman floats above the clouds, watching the planet rotate beneath him. He hears everything, every heartbeat, every whisper, every war room conversation happening simultaneously. 47 languages, 12,000 separate discussions about him. He processes them all in real time. They're afraid, he murmurs to himself. Good. Fear prevents mistakes. But he also hears something else. Children laughing, families eating dinner, farmers working fields. An entire world that has nothing to do with Viltrumite conquest, just trying to survive another day. That's why he's here. Not to conquer, not to prove dominance, to stop the cycle before more innocents pay the price. His eyes narrow. Heat vision activates, not as a weapon, but as a scanner. He traces energy signatures across the planet. Viltrumite bases, hidden weapons, secret facilities. He maps everything in 4 seconds. Then he begins. Across 6 continents, Viltrumite infrastructure fails simultaneously. No explosions, no warnings, no casualties. One moment, weapon systems are operational. The next, critical components are simply gone, removed at molecular level by precision heat vision fired from orbit. Power cores vanish. Communication arrays dissolve. Fuel reserves evaporate into harmless gas. By the time alarms trigger, it's already over. Conquest, the Empire's most feared general, receives the reports in disbelief. He's leveled civilizations with his bare hands. He's broken heroes, shattered rebellions, crushed hope itself. Nothing has ever dismantled Viltrumite operations this efficiently. How, he demands. Unknown, his lieutenant replies. The attacks originated from multiple locations simultaneously. Either there are hundreds of him, or he's fast enough to be everywhere at once. Conquest finishes. Silence fills the room. Conquest isn't afraid. He doesn't know how to be. But for the first time in centuries, he feels something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Superman lands outside a Viltrumite detention facility where prisoners from 12 conquered worlds are held. Guards surround him instantly. 8 warriors, weapons drawn, faces twisted with engineered aggression. Surrender or die, the lead guard commands. Superman looks at him. Just looks. The guard's confidence cracks. He's stared down armies. He's executed kings. But those blue eyes hold something different. Not malice, not bloodlust. Certainty. You have 3 seconds to open those doors, Superman says calmly. After that, I open them myself. Your choice determines whether you walk away from this. The guard hesitates. Viltrumites don't hesitate, but he does. 1 second passes. You're bluffing, the guard snarls, raising his weapon. 2 seconds. No, Superman replies. I'm waiting. 3 seconds. The guard swings. And then he's on the ground, weapon shattered, arm bent at an angle that shouldn't exist, staring up at a being who moved so fast the motion didn't register on his retinas. I waited, Superman says. You chose. The remaining guards drop their weapons. The doors open. Prisoners flood out, broken, starved, but alive. Some collapse crying. Others stare in disbelief. A few look at Superman with something that's been beaten out of them for years. Hope. Superman doesn't smile. He doesn't need to. His presence alone tells them everything they need to know. The age of Viltrumite dominance just developed an expiration date. The Viltrumite Empire doesn't retreat. It can't. Retreat would require acknowledging something stronger exists. Their entire civilization is built on one truth. Nothing is stronger. So instead of retreating, they escalate. Grand Regent Thrag makes the decision personally. Deploy the war fleet. All battalions. Full planetary assault protocols. His advisors exchange glances. Sir, against one target? That's resources meant for galactic conquest. Did I stutter? Thrag's voice could freeze suns. This one target disabled 37% of our ground infrastructure in 90 seconds. He hasn't been scratched. He hasn't been slowed. Either we learn what breaks him now, or we lose everything later. The war fleet mobilizes. 17 capital ships, 400 combat vessels, 80,000 Viltrumite soldiers trained from birth to kill. Enough firepower to glass entire star systems. For anyone else, this would be overkill. For Superman, it's a warm-up. The fleet arrives in low orbit, blocking out the sun across half the planet. Civilians look up and see death incarnate. Viltrumite ships have that effect, designed not just to destroy, but to terrify. Superman watches from the ground. He doesn't fly up to meet them. He doesn't need to. One chance, he broadcasts on every frequency simultaneously. His voice echoes across all 17 capital ships. Leave this system. Don't come back. This offer expires in 30 seconds. Laughter erupts on bridge after bridge. The arrogance of it. One being threatening the largest armada in Viltrumite history. 29 seconds pass. The fleet opens fire. 17 capital ships. 400 combat vessels. Every weapon firing simultaneously. Plasma cannons. Kinetic missiles. Directed energy beams. Weapons designed to crack planets. From the ground, it looks like the sky is dying. Superman flies up to meet it, and the universe holds its breath. Here is what happens next. Superman enters the weapon barrage at Mach 10,000. Plasma blasts that should vaporize continents splash against his chest and dissipate. Kinetic missiles detonate on his skin without leaving marks. Energy beams designed to cut through planetary cores bend around him, as if reality itself is protecting him. He accelerates. Mach 50,000, Mach 100,000, Mach 500,000. At these speeds, time becomes suggestion. The Viltrumite soldiers see flashes, blue and red blurs appearing and disappearing faster than their combat-enhanced perception can track. Ship after ship goes dark, not destroyed, disabled. Superman tears through hulls with surgical precision, targeting only propulsion and weapon systems. Life support stays active. Crew quarters remain intact. He's moving so fast he could kill everyone aboard before they blinked, but instead, he's saving them. That restraint is more terrifying than destruction. The flagship commanders watch their sensors with mounting horror. Contact after contact goes offline. Green indicators flip red in waves. In 45 seconds, 300 ships lose combat capability. What is he? Someone whispers. On the bridge of a lead capital ship, Thrag watches in silence. His face reveals nothing, but his fists clench hard enough to crack the metal armrest beneath them. Superman reaches the first capital ship in 53 seconds. He doesn't slow down. He punches through the reinforced hull like it's paper, emerging inside the bridge before alarms finish sounding. 12 elite guards react instantly, attacking with weapons and fists and centuries of training. It doesn't matter. In 2 seconds, all 12 are unconscious on the floor. Not dead, not mutilated, just done. The ship's commander stares up at Superman, terror finally breaking through Viltrumite conditioning. You can't. We are the dominant species. You can't. I can, Superman replies. I am. And if you want your crew to survive the next 5 minutes, you'll order an immediate retreat. The commander's pride wars with survival instinct. Pride has ruled Viltrumites for millennia, but survival instinct is older. All ships stand down. Stand down immediately. Retreat isn't possible for everyone. Some commanders refuse. Their pride won't allow submission to a single enemy, no matter how powerful. 17 captains attempt to flee the system instead. 3 try one final assault, ramming their ships directly toward populated areas. If they can't win, they'll ensure maximum casualties. Superman stops all of them. He intercepts the ramming ships first, placing himself between them and the planet. 3 capital ships, each massing millions of tons, slam into him simultaneously. The impact should crack continents. Superman doesn't move an inch. The ships crumple against him like aluminum foil against steel. Metal screams. Reactors fail. Hulls collapse inward. And at the center of the devastation, Superman floats untouched, catching falling debris before it enters the atmosphere. The fleeing ships don't get far. Superman catches each one individually, burning out their engines with controlled heat vision. 17 ships spread across thousands of miles of space, all disabled within 12 seconds. Total elapsed time since the battle began, 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Total Viltrumite casualties, 0. Total Viltrumite pride, shattered. Omni-Man arrives at the battlefield expecting war. What he finds is a graveyard of metal and broken ego. "You did this," he says, floating among the wreckage. One being, against our entire war fleet. Superman turns to face him. "I stopped a slaughter. Yours, not mine." "That's not possible. Our fleet has never." "Your fleet has never faced someone from my universe," Superman interrupts. "You measure power by how much you can destroy. I measure it by how much I can prevent. That's the difference. That's why this was never a fight." Omni-Man's eyes narrow. Pretty words from someone who's never been pushed. "I've been pushed by beings who eat dimensions for breakfast," Superman replies calmly. Darkseid, the anti-monitor. Mandrak, the dark monitor. "I've fought concepts given form. I've wrestled with literal death. Your empire is powerful by your standards. By mine." He pauses. "You're Tuesday." Omni-Man snaps. He attacks with everything he has: centuries of refined combat technique, planetary level strength, speed that makes light seem slow. He hits Superman exactly 743 times in 4 seconds. Each blow carries enough force to shatter moons. Superman takes every single hit. Then he catches Omni-Man's fist. "Are you done?" he asks. Omni-Man's answer is a scream of pure rage. He pushes harder, digging into reserves he didn't know he had. Veins bulge, bones creak. Power that has conquered worlds flows through his arms. Superman's grip doesn't budge. "I said," Superman repeats, "are you done?" The fight ends there. Not with a finishing blow. Not with death. It ends with a simple, undeniable realization that Omni-Man has given everything he has. And it wasn't enough to move Superman's hand. He drops to his knees among the wreckage, gasping. And for the first time in his existence, Nolan Grayson understands what mortals feel when they face Viltrumites. Helpless. Word spreads through the Viltrumite empire like a plague. The war fleet fell. Omni-Man fell. Nothing worked. For a species built on superiority, this isn't just news. It's existential crisis. Viltrumite children are taught from birth that they are the apex of evolution, that nothing in any universe can match them, that dominance is their birthright. Superman has made all of that a lie. Grand Regent Thrag locks himself in strategic chambers for 6 hours. No advisors, no guards. When he emerges, his face is stone. "New protocols," he announces. "We don't engage him directly anymore. We make him choose." The plan is elegant in its cruelty. Target civilians. Force Superman to spread himself thin. Make him protect everyone simultaneously while strike teams hit from multiple directions. Eventually, he'll be in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Eventually, something will slip through. Viltrumites have broken countless heroes with this tactic. It exploits morality as weakness. It turns compassion into a liability. Against Superman, it fails catastrophically. The first wave hits 7 cities simultaneously. In New York, a Viltrumite squad prepares to level a hospital. In Tokyo, another targets a school. In Cairo, London, Sydney, Beijing, Sao Paulo, each city faces extinction-level threats within the same second. Superman saved them all. Not some, not most, all. He moves so fast that physics stops making sense. Witnesses in New York report seeing him catch a collapsing building. Witnesses in Tokyo, on the other side of the planet, report seeing him there at the same moment. Satellite tracking confirms both sightings are real. He is literally existing in multiple places simultaneously through sheer speed. The Viltrumite squads never complete a single attack. Every soldier is intercepted, disarmed, and incapacitated before their strikes land. 7 cities, 49 attackers, 0 civilian casualties. Total elapsed time, 1.3 seconds. Thrag watches the reports come in, his stoic expression cracking for the first time. "That's impossible," he murmurs. "Even by our standards, that's impossible. Conquest demands personal combat. He can't accept this. Won't accept it. His entire identity is built on being the strongest, the most ruthless, the most feared. If Superman truly surpasses him, then Conquest's entire existence becomes a joke. He attacks in open space, far from planets, where collateral damage won't limit either of them. No more tricks, Conquest growls. No more games. Full power. Both of us. Let's see what you really are." Superman nods. "If that's what you need." They clash. The impact releases energy equivalent to supernova. Space itself ripples. Nearby, asteroids vaporize from shockwave alone. For 3 seconds, a new sun blooms between stars. When the light fades, Conquest is embedded in an asteroid 12,000 miles away, every bone in his body broken. Superman floats where they collided, completely unharmed. He didn't throw a single punch. He just stood there. Conquest crashed into him like water hitting granite. "That was full power?" Superman asks, almost curious. "I couldn't tell." Conquest screams, not in pain, but in something worse. Humiliation, irrelevance, the sound of pride dying. The Invincible universe tries one more strategy. Mark Grayson. Not as a weapon, as an appeal. Mark approaches Superman openly, hands raised, hoping shared heroism might bridge the gap. "You don't have to keep fighting," Mark says. "The Viltrumites, some of them can change. I'm proof of that. My father changed. We can find another way." Superman studies him for a long moment. He sees the hope, the trauma, the desperate belief that violence isn't the only answer. "You're right," Superman says. Mark's eyes widen. "I am. Violence isn't the only answer. It's barely even an answer. But your empire won't stop because I ask nicely. I've met beings like them before. I've tried diplomacy with Mongol, with Darkseid, with conquerors who've erased billions. Words work when power respects them. Your empire only respects force. So you'll kill them all?" "No." Superman's voice carries something ancient. Tired. "I'll show them force they can't match, can't fight, can't survive against. And then I'll offer peace. What they do with that offer is their choice. But the violence." He gestures at the wreckage scattered across the system. "This ends. Today. One way or another." Mark struggles with this. Everything he's been taught says there must be a better path. But looking at the devastation Viltrumites have caused, cities burned, species extinct, families shattered, he can't fully disagree either. "What if they choose wrong?" he asks quietly. Superman's jaw tightens. "Then I stop choosing restraint." The message reaches Thrag within the hour. Stand down completely. Withdraw all forces. Release all prisoners. Or face consequences you cannot imagine. Thrag reads it 17 times. Each time his rage builds. He is Grand Regent. He is the strongest Viltrumite alive. He has conquered worlds, shattered armies, ruled galaxies. He does not surrender to ultimatums. But he also doesn't ignore tactical reality. "How many ships remain combat capable?" he asks. 37% of the fleet. "And against him? What are our chances?" Silence. Estimate. His advisor swallows. 0%, Grand Regent. Based on observed capabilities, 0. Thrag stands motionless for a very long time. 0. Not low. Not uncertain. 0. The Viltrumite Empire has never faced 0 before. What happens next will be debated for generations. Thrag chooses pride. He mobilizes everything. Every remaining ship, every soldier, every weapon the Empire possesses. Not to win. He knows victory is impossible. But to prove that Viltrumites bow to nothing, even inevitability. "If we fall," he declares, "we fall as conquerors, not cowards." It's the most Viltrumite decision possible. Glorious. Stupid. Predictable. Superman sees them coming. thousands of warriors, hundreds of ships, the complete military might of a galaxy-spanning empire converging on one point. He doesn't wait for them to arrive. He meets them halfway. What follows isn't a battle. It's a demonstration. Superman dismantles the Armada in 6 minutes. Not through destruction, through precision. Every ship loses propulsion. Every soldier loses consciousness. Every weapon fails at the molecular level. He moves through them like wind through leaves, unstoppable, untouchable, inevitable. By the time Thrag reaches the battlefield, his entire force is neutralized. He floats alone among the wreckage, the last Viltrumite still standing. Your turn, Superman says. Thrag doesn't surrender. He can't. Surrender would require accepting that his life's work, millennia of conquest, billions of deaths, an empire built on skulls, means nothing against one being from another universe. So instead, he fights. Not with strategy, not with restraint, with pure, unfiltered rage. Every technique he's mastered, every ounce of strength he possesses, every lesson written in blood across countless worlds. He hits Superman so hard that nearby moons fracture from the shockwave. He moves so fast that light bends around his fists. He fights with the accumulated fury of a god king watching his kingdom crumble. Superman takes it all. Every punch, every kick, every desperate attack. He doesn't dodge. He doesn't block. He stands there, letting Thrag exhaust himself against an immovable wall. The fight lasts 11 minutes. By the end, Thrag can barely lift his arms. His regeneration factor, normally capable of healing planetary-level damage, struggles to keep pace with his own exertion. He's broken himself against Superman's body. You done? Superman asks. The same words he used with Omni-Man. The same calm tone. The same absolute certainty. Thrag's response is a final, desperate lunge. All remaining strength channeled into one blow aimed at Superman's heart. Superman catches his fist. Then, for the first time, Superman hits back. One punch. Controlled. Precise. Enough force to end the fight without ending the life. Thrag rockets backward at speeds that would vaporize ordinary matter. He crashes through an asteroid belt, each impact shattering bodies larger than cities. When he finally stops, embedded in a moon 2 star systems away, he can't move. Not from injury, from shock. That single punch carried more force than anything Thrag has ever experienced. More than planetary collisions. More than stellar explosions. More than the combined might of every Viltrumite who ever lived. And it was restrained. I could have ended you before you saw me move, Superman says, appearing beside him. I chose not to. Remember that when you're deciding how this ends, the Viltrumite Empire fractures. Without Thrag's leadership, factions emerge overnight. Some demand continued resistance, death before dishonor, conquest, or extinction. Others advocate retreat, rebuild, regroup, return when stronger. A few, quietly, suggest something unthinkable: peace. Superman doesn't interfere with their politics. He simply maintains presence. Every time violence threatens, he appears. Every time escalation begins, it ends. He becomes the ceiling they cannot break, the wall they cannot pass. Slowly, inevitably, the war fades. Not through diplomacy, not through understanding, through exhaustion. The Viltrumite Empire simply runs out of ways to fight. Battle Beast challenges Superman on the 16th day. He doesn't care about politics or empire. He cares about finding a good death, a fight worth dying in. His entire existence has been searching for an enemy who can truly kill him. I've heard about you. Battle Beast growls, claws extended. They say you can't be beaten. I want to find out if that's true. Superman studies him, sees the scars, sees the hunger, sees a warrior who's won so many battles that victory has become meaningless. You want to die, Superman says. Not a question. I want to fight. Really fight. No holding back. No mercy. Just two warriors and the truth of combat. Superman considers this for a long moment. No, he finally says. Battle Beast's eyes widen. You're refusing? You've spent your life seeking death through battle because you're afraid of finding meaning any other way. That's not strength. That's cowardice dressed up as honor. Battle Beast roars and attacks, faster than thought, stronger than worlds. His claws should carve through Superman like tissue paper. They shatter on contact. Superman doesn't even flinch. "I'm not your exit," Superman says, catching Battle Beast's arm. "And I'm not your validation. If you want to die, find a sun and fly into it. If you want to live, stop looking for excuses not to." He releases Battle Beast and turns away. For the first time in his existence, Battle Beast doesn't know what to do. An enemy he can't defeat. A fight he can't finish. A purpose suddenly stolen. He stands frozen among the stars, watching Superman leave. And quietly, so quietly even Superman's hearing barely catches it, Battle Beast laughs. Not in mockery, in something that might, impossibly, be relief. The political collapse accelerates. Viltrumite holdouts surrender one by one, not to Superman, to their own exhaustion. Fighting has always defined them. Now fighting is pointless. The identity crisis alone does more damage than any weapon could. Freed worlds celebrate. Conquered species emerge from hiding. Empires that cowered for millennia suddenly find their voices. The galaxy is changing. Through it all, Superman watches. He doesn't establish governments. He doesn't demand tribute. He doesn't install himself as ruler. He simply prevents violence, conquest, atrocity. Everything else he leaves to them. Some find this more unsettling than direct control. "Why don't you take over?" Cecil asks during a rare, direct conversation. "You could run the entire galaxy. Hell, you could probably run the universe. No one could stop you." "That's exactly why I won't," Superman replies. "Power without choice isn't freedom. I can stop wars. I can't make people want peace. That has to come from them." Cecil frowns. "And if they choose wrong, if they go back to violence the moment you leave, then I come back. Forever? You'll just babysit an entire universe indefinitely." Superman smiles slightly. "I've got time." The Viltrumite homeworld, Viltrum itself, faces a choice. With their empire broken and their military neutralized, they can no longer project force. They must either adapt or die. Centuries of conquest-based culture crash against sudden powerlessness. Thrag, recovered but diminished, addresses his people for the final time. "We were wrong," he says. Each word costs him something. Not about strength. Strength is still everything. But we misunderstood what strength means. We thought it meant domination, that being unable to be stopped meant being right. We faced something that proved us wrong, and we survived only because that something chose to let us. He pauses. The crowd is silent. Our empire was built on fear. Fear is not legacy. Fear is not meaning. It's just delay. Delaying the moment when someone stronger arrives and ends everything we built. His voice hardens. Superman is that someone. And instead of ending us, he offered a choice. I don't understand why. I may never understand. But I understand this. If we choose conquest again, we won't get another chance. He steps down from the platform. Viltrum begins its transformation. 6 months pass. The galaxy is quieter now. Not peaceful. Peace is a process, not a destination, but quieter. The Viltrumite Empire has officially dissolved. Former soldiers scatter across star systems, some rebuilding, some wandering, some struggling to find purpose without conquest. Superman remains present. Not everywhere. He learned long ago that constant visibility breeds dependency, but present. A signal that can be reached. A force that can be called. A certainty that violence will be answered. It's enough. Mark Grayson finds him on an asteroid at the edge of the system. "You could leave now," Mark says, floating beside him. "The war's over. The Empire's done. Why stay?" Superman looks at him. In Mark, he sees himself, or at least a version of himself. A hero burdened with power he didn't ask for, trying to figure out what it means. "Do you know why I became a hero?" Superman asks. Mark shakes his head. "Not because I was born strong. Not because Krypton destined me for greatness. I became a hero because a farmer and his wife found a baby in a field and chose to love him. Because they taught him that strength without compassion is just cruelty with better odds." He pauses, watching stars drift. Your universe is brutal because it believes brutality is necessary. That power justifies itself. I've seen what happens when that belief goes unchallenged. Darkseid's apocalypse, Mongols' warworld, entire civilizations built on the idea that might makes right. And you think you can change that here? I think I can show them another way exists. What they do with that knowledge is up to them. Mark is quiet for a long moment. My father, he changed. Eventually. But it took years. And losing things. And pain. I know, this universe might never change. Even with you here. Some people just don't want to be better. I know that too. Superman turns to face him fully. But some will. Some already have. That's not nothing. That's not wasted effort. That's why heroes exist, not to fix everything, but to prove that fixing things is possible. Mark doesn't have a response to that. He just nods slowly and floats away. Superman watches him go. Then he returns to watching the stars. The final test comes unexpectedly. A coalition of former Viltrumite hardliners, those who refuse to accept surrender, assembles in secret. They've spent months gathering forbidden technology, experimenting with reality-altering weapons, searching for anything that might bridge the gap between their power and Superman's. They find something, a device capable of tearing holes in dimensional fabric. Not enough to hurt Superman directly. They've abandoned that hope, but enough to threaten the universe itself. A dead man's switch. Surrender to their demands, or reality collapses. It's desperation disguised as strategy. Exactly the kind of escalation this universe specializes in. Superman detects it immediately. He doesn't arrive with fury. He doesn't arrive with speeches. He arrives, looks at the device, and says one sentence. Interesting. May I see it? The hardliners hesitate. This isn't the reaction they expected. Fear, yes. Anger, maybe. But curiosity? Their leader, a scarred general named Craig, recovers first. You can't stop us without risking the device. One wrong move and you tear a hole in space-time that collapses this star system. Superman finishes. I know. I've seen 17 different versions of this device across 12 dimensions. Yours is actually fairly well built. The containment field is elegant. Craig's confidence wavers. You're not concerned? Should I be? Superman tilts his head. You're threatening to destroy everything because you can't accept losing. That's not power. That's tantrum. Real power is building something worth protecting. You had an entire empire. What did you build? Fear. Corpses. A legacy of trauma that will take generations to heal. We built dominion. You built nothing. Superman's voice doesn't rise, but the temperature in the room seems to drop. Dominion collapses the moment something stronger arrives. That's not building. That's borrowing time against the inevitable. He steps closer to the device. The hardliners tense. You want to know real power? Watch. Superman reaches into the device. His movements are too fast to follow, too precise to understand. Components rearrange. Energy patterns shift. In 3 seconds, the universe-ending weapon becomes a harmless sculpture. That's power, Superman says quietly. Not destroying. Choosing not to. Any fool can break things. It takes actual strength to fix them. He turns and walks away. Behind him, the hardliners stand frozen. Their plan, their hope, their last desperate gamble, rendered meaningless in 3 seconds. Craig drops to his knees. Not in defeat, in understanding. Years pass. The universe changes. Not perfectly, not completely. Old hatreds linger. New conflicts emerge. Sentient beings are messy, complicated, prone to mistakes. But the scale is different now. Wars that would have consumed galaxies fizzle into skirmishes. Tyrants who would have risen find themselves facing resistance that didn't exist before. Superman's shadow hangs over everything, not as a threat, as a reminder. Power can be used differently. Strength doesn't require cruelty. Mercy is not weakness. Some resent him for it. They call him tyrant, controller, invisible dictator. They're not entirely wrong. His presence does limit their choices. His power does define their boundaries. But the alternative, endless escalation, eternal violence, civilizations grinding each other to dust, was that really freedom? Superman leaves eventually. Not forever, not dramatically. He simply tells those who need to know that he's returning home, that they can reach him if truly necessary, that he trusts them to handle what comes next. Mark Grayson inherits the role of Watcher, not as powerful, but powerful enough, and more importantly, of this universe, understanding its people in ways Superman never fully could. Any advice? Mark asks before Superman departs. Superman considers, don't try to be me, be better. Find the version of heroism that fits who you are, not who I am. This universe doesn't need another Superman. It needs someone who grew up here, fought here, bled here. Someone who understands the scars. Mark nods slowly. And if I fail, then you try again. Superman smiles. That's all any of us can do. He rises toward the stars. The universe watches him go. Final narration. This was never about Superman conquering the invincible universe. It was about proving that conquest itself is the small game. Power measured in destruction is power wasted. True strength is knowing you could end everything and choosing preservation instead. The Viltrumite Empire fell not because they were weak, but because their definition of strength was incomplete. They understood force. They understood survival. They understood dominion. They never understood restraint. Superman didn't defeat them with punches. He defeated them with perspective. And once you see the difference between destruction and protection, between domination and stewardship, between tyranny and choice, you can never unsee it. That's why this matchup was never close. Not in power, not in speed, not in outcome, but in meaning.